Welcome to the UFHL Draft Lottery Special. I'm your defending champion, Tony Walker, and with me is our commissioner, Scott Fraser.
I'm really excited to be here, Tony. This is our first draft lottery, our first draft lottery special. It should be a pretty exciting night, and I think we got a great show lined up.
I think so too. Coming up later in the show, we'll be giving you the draft lottery results, but first we're going to throw to Rob Jankowski to talk to our newest manager, GM Ruben DeBoer, who will be taking care of the Greendale Human Beings at the end of this season.
There he is, Mr. DeBoer.
Oh.
I hear you are now the newest general manager in the UFHL. How do you feel to be a member of the UFHL?
Yeah, Rob, thanks for having me today. It's a great league. It's a league I've been looking to get my hands into for quite some time now. By inheriting the Human Beings, I think I got a lot of great young assets to work with, to develop. Fourth in the league this year. It's a team to be proud of.
So clearly the previous general manager had a specific vision for the team. Where do you vision this team moving forward?
You know, we're not going to make any brash moves here, Rob. We're going to stay calm, true to our team. We've got a lot of young prospects to see, hey, what are they going to get into? We know there's a lot of career years on the team, right? So we're going to have to see how that pushes up towards the salary cap. Maybe a few players are going out, maybe a few young assets are coming in, but nothing drastic on the plate.
And last but not least, this manager in the past, Jesse Rehill, has been known for naming the team based off of where he himself has lived. Is that a trend we can expect to see moving forward? Do you have any thoughts, any spoilers you can give us on the team name?
Well, we kept it pretty tight-lipped so far, and I think that's what we're going to continue with today. I will let you know that we've got some really exciting names and prospects moving forward. A few web addresses we've put aside just in case to make sure we've got a handle on the market, but you'll find out on draft day.
Thanks so much for your time. Scott, Tony, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Rob. I really do think it's going to be good for the league to have Ruben in there taking over that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every time we get a new manager and it's new blood, it's a new outlook, and it's something for us to all look forward to next season.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what Ruben does with that team that Jesse's assembled over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Jesse's team could be maybe charitably called as being comprised of a number of players who had career years. And that it's going to be up to Ruben to determine which of those players is for real, and we'll be able to sustain that going forward, and who's a bit of a flash in the pan. Right,
absolutely, absolutely. So speaking of transitions and segues, we have a lot of transactions here going on with this draft lottery. We have teams that, a couple of lottery-bound picks that have changed hands.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had two big trades this year involving picks that have entered up in the lottery. Let's have a look at those on the screen. The first one was between the Toronto Spitfires and the Steeltown Super Snuffies, where we had Sam Steele and a second-round pick go for what was Endo's first-round pick, previously acquired, and Eddie Lack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, I think that pick was kind of thought to be a middle-round pick when it was first traded, but as such it has really kind of sunk down into the lottery zone here, and really is an advantage there for Scott and the Spitfires.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second trade that we had, actually, it was kind of a two-parter, and it also involved the Spitfires and the Snuffies to start with. Nicholas Backstrom went for Spitfires pick and John Carlson, and then as part of a second deal, the Spitfires went out and dealt Kyle Connor in return for the Johnstown Jackals first pick. So kind of in effect, there was a movement there of pick swapping, but it was Nick Backstrom for Carlson and a pick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the Johnstown Jackal gamble didn't quite pay off, as John is rolling right now in the fantasy playoffs. But that Toronto Spitfires pick has some potential to really do some damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the ping pong balls bounce the right way.
It's come back into this lottery as the fourth best odds. So there was a bit of an idea there for the Spitfires, I think, thinking that the picks might fall the other way. And that there was a bit of a gambit there that doesn't seem to have paid off. And that fourth pick can go as high as number 2, which will really kind of color how that trade might be viewed going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you're talking about odds, how does this draft process work? Can we explain how this goes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the draft lottery has kind of been conducted. It's going to be done through a Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet is based off a random number generator. We have 3 lotteries that are going to be conducted. So of the 6 picks, 3 of them may move. Each team was given a round and given a range of numbers. If the random number generator falls within that range, then they're considered to have won that lottery. So we've got a maximum of 2 spots that people can move up, and the picks that move today actually impact not just the first round, but all 4 rounds for their valuation.
So there's lots at stake here with this draft lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. So a team like the West End Whalers, who have finished last, can fall as far as 4th. And a team like with McGregor with the Spitfires pick can move all the way up into a number 2 spot, or etc. So why don't we have a quick look at what those odds actually are for each of the teams. So you'll see on the screen right now, we've got the West End Whalers, who have about a 25% chance of winning one of the 3 draft lotteries, each of the draft lotteries. As that goes through and each of the lotteries occur, those odds will obviously shift as the rounds change. So for second place, the Kansas City Scouts have a 22.5% chance. A Spitfires, via the pick that was acquired from Endo via McGregor, has a 17.5% chance. Steeltown Super Suffies, with that previously mentioned Spitfires pick, have a 15% chance. Merck, the Byron Brigade, 12.5, and the Whitby Wildcats, 7.5.
So without further ado, let's spin over to the drawing and find out how these ping pong balls fall.
The 6th draft pick goes to the Whitby Wildcats.
Okay, great. So no big surprises there. We've got the first draw in, and with 7.5% chance, wasn't a great chance to move, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is a bit of a tough luck pick for Chris, as he really had a renaissance season this year, moving from 10th last year to a 7th place finish this year, where he had a .534 win percentage, which was setting records as far as 7th place teams go in the UFHL.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best season for a non-playoff team in the 12-year history of the UFHL. So that's got to be a little bit. I don't know if that would be viewed as maybe a bit of solace or maybe a little bit of a frustration. That's normally the kind of finish and the kind of season that's good for a 4th or 3rd place finish. And so Chris really could be in the playoffs right now. Instead, he's going to walk away with the 6th pick tonight. I
think you could get a player at 6. I think this is going to be this is a deep enough draft that I think number 6 could be a player that could help his team as early as next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this time of year we're always a little bit focused on those top names, but once everyone gets their scouting in, and by the time draft day rolls around, we always end up seeing a lot of good picks in that 5, 6, 7 range. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so on to number 5.
The 5th draft pick goes to the Steeltown Super Snuffies.
With the Steeltown Super Snuffies taking the 5th overall pick here, that's the first movement we've seen in the draft, and it comes pretty early.
Yeah, it does. Seeing the Steeltown Super Snuffies pick up or pop up on the board here at number 5 means that Merck is not in the spot we would have expected to, meaning that he's actually won one of the 3 lotteries here. That's pretty unexpected. He only had a 12.5% chance to move up.
And this has to be a little bit disappointing for McGregor. When he took this pick, this could have been as high as number 2, and now it's dropped to just a number 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's a pretty big swing. As much as we were saying for Whitby Wildcats, there's still a lot of good players available here, and there are. It's still not quite the same as having one of those top elite picks. So for McGregor, this is probably going to be viewed as a bit of a disappointment to be coming away at number 5 here.
Absolutely, and it adds a little bit of drama for this number 4 pick as well, seeing as we know that Merklinger is going to land in that number 3 spot at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the Merck being able to move up to number 3 here, we only after 2 draws, we know where half this order is already. So with the 3 remaining slots, we've actually got only 3 teams that can fill them. At 1, 2, and 4, it will be some combination of the West End Whalers, the Kansas City Scouts, and the Toronto Spitfires.
Fantastic. All right, well, let's get to pick number 4 then.
Yeah.
The 4th draft pick goes to the West End Whalers.
2, 1.
This cannot be what GM Jankowski was hoping for in this draft.
No, this is a big disappointment. After spending the entire year in the basement and having a 25% chance on each of these 3 lotteries, to fall to number 4 here is it's a big hit.
It is. It's a big hit. But this is how the system is designed, right? We talked about the flat odds going into this. We're trying to disincentivize tanking. So Rob took a risk here, and he knew that this was a possibility, and the chips really just didn't fall for him here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is the system that we've designed, and this maybe shouldn't be a surprise. But this is one of those scenarios where I think that the theory and the reality are maybe a little jarring. You know, it's enough to understand the odds, but to have it actually happen in a one-off draft is it's still a little surprising for the last place team to fall this far.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, and you know what, we talked about the depth of this draft. I really feel like the top 4 picks are very solid. This isn't the kind of draft where we have huge talent like a Matthews and a Line or a McDavid and an Eichel, where Rob's really missed out. I think that the 104 can really still be a player for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, it's still early days, and there's still a lot of scouting and a lot of games played to go. But, you know, kind of at the top 4 of this draft, I think people would say that you got a Dahlin, a Zadina, a Svechnikov, and Brady Tkachuk probably in that argument as well. And which of those 4 are going to go in which order is maybe a bit of a toss-up still. So as much as this is probably a disappointment to be relegated to the 4th choice out of that group, that's still a relatively flat group that Rob is still going to be a part of.
Absolutely. This really still is not the result he was hoping for, I'm sure.
No, not at all.
Okay, well, let's... we know what the results for pick number 3 are going to be, but we should go and find out, you know...
Go find out for sure.
Make it official.
Yeah.
The 3rd draft pick goes to the Byron Brigade.
Well, we knew this pick was coming. Merck lands himself a top 3 pick.
Yeah, and that's a big jump from number 5, so that's he's got to be pretty happy with that, I think. This is not Merck's first venture into the top 5 here. In fact, he's got a bit of a history.
Yeah, he really has. This is GM Merklinger's 7th first-round selection in 3 years, and his 5th top 5 selection.
That is, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of picks, but you know, it's pretty consistent with Merck's approach here. He's been certainly part of the internal rebuilding group, I would say, in this league, and you know, that behooves itself to keeping these picks, to having these picks, and trying to grow that team from the ground up.
Yeah, and it's great to have those picks, but I mean, it's how he gets those picks that really kind of hurt him. If we take a look at the graphic here, we'll see all of these picks that he's made, and a lot of these guys are pretty solid picks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you look down the list here, and you've got a Matthews and Dubois at 105 and Keller at 107 are actually all great picks. What is maybe a little confusing there, though, is that with all these great picks, why do you think he's back in the draft ladder this year? You know, you look at that first pick with Sam Reinhart, that's 3 years ago. That's kind of where you would hope to see a little bit more movement and a little more progression.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's how Merck has been getting these picks and accumulating these picks that kind of is the problem.
I see what you mean there.
You know, he's been finishing low in the standings for quite a while now. Actually, I'm looking at my numbers here, and Merck hasn't made the playoffs since 1997, the year Austin Matthews was born.
You know, that's actually surprising to me. I actually thought it was 98.
Well, that's what it says here on my sheet, so we have to trust those numbers.
Yeah.
So with that number 3 pick in the books, now we only have to find out who's picking 1 and 2 in this year's draft.
Yeah, so our options left on the table here are the Toronto Spitfires via the pick obtained from the Barkville Bruins and Kansas City Scouts, who come in with their own pick today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think both of these teams here could really benefit from one of these from these top 2 picks. So you know, we watched Ryan kind of go into a bit of a rebuild mode this year, and GM Scott Fraser has really kind of been building from the basement up after his tank job 2 years ago.
Yeah, so the Spitfires came out of last year's draft process with the 101, so to see the Spitfires land 101 or 102 here is certainly a positive development for them, and should set GM Scott Fraser on the road to the playoffs, hopefully maybe as soon as next year.
Right, absolutely. So without further ado, let's draw that number 1 pick.
Drum roll, please.
The first draft pick goes to the Toronto Spitfires.
Well, Scott, I think I'm going to let you cover this one.
Oh, I wonder why that might be here. So this is obviously this is an encouraging development. I mean, it's nice to pair this pick with Nico Hischier from last year. We're not quite sure which way we're going to go just yet, but it's always nice to be able to put this one in your back pocket. It's one roster spot. There's still 24 others that need to be filled effectively, but getting a top end and elite talent is going to be pretty nice.
Absolutely, and I mean, we look at your team this year, and a lot of the guys that you brought in your transition didn't really live up to expectations. So one might look at that and see that as a negative, but another might look at that as an opportunity if those salary cap numbers come in your favor and they bounce back.
Absolutely. So the Spitfires spent a lot of time last year shipping out youth in return for more established guys, and you look down the list of the players that were acquired, like Brent Burns, Bufflin, and Pacioretty, Cam Atkinson. They all had quite rough starts to the first half of the year. So there's two schools of thought on this. These guys are all just a little bit maybe past their prime, and it may be the first signs of a downturn. Or if it was just an aberration and they're going to benefit salary-wise coming into next year, that could be quite the boon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to be looking for, at the Spitfires, vying for that space back in the playoffs.
Yeah, so, coming out of the basement the year before, made some pretty good headway this year, climbed up as far as ninth, but we're challenging for a playoff spot there, on the fringe.
Okay, that's great, Scott. We're going to talk about Ryan right now. Let's talk about how he's added to his youth-obsessed team here. He's got Braden Point, Taylor Hall, Braden Shen, Patrick Nolan. Now he adds the 102.
Yep. So this goes very well with Nolan Patrick from last year in particular. That was acquired by trade after the draft, but that's two 102s in a row as well. That are going to be part of a core for him moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting for him is that he's kind of moved the opposite direction this year. He was right on the fringe and in the playoffs the year before, but dropped back to 11th this year. So, what do you think that means for him long term?
I really think it's up to the manager and see which direction he wants to take. We watched this year as one of the most competitive years in UFHL history, with a really competitive field vying for the playoffs this year. I don't think next year is going to be any different, and he might be biding his time trying to rebuild through internally as he is wont to do.
Yeah, so it's a result, and it's what you do with it from here that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So that is the UFHL lottery draft. We'll post the results on the message board, and we look forward to hearing your commentary. Thanks a lot, and have a great night, guys.
I'm here outside of Scott's washroom waiting for General Manager Rob Jankowski, who heard some disturbing news earlier today regarding his draft pick. Didn't meet the lottery expectations that he's looking for. We've heard some sobs, we've heard some cries, we've heard some noises I can't identify. Let's see if he's available for comment.
It's gonna take longer than you think in here.
Now Rob, come on out, you've got to face the camera.
You don't know how hard it is.
Rob, tell us more. Tell us what is going through your head at this time.
Is that thing rolling? Turn